We're live.
We're live,
Thanks, Ken. We are.
so I can't call you names?
You can call me whatever you want, just as long as you're comfortable with the whole world hearing.
Don't call me late for dinner.
Right. And Judy had a couple, she had some pork chops that were just delicious when I got out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were delicious.
Do we have any water? Ken?
So can we get the Cliff Notes meeting, version of this meeting so we can leave?
Sure.
It won't last long.
Hey, Dwayne, I've got you right here.
Oh, okay.
What's your lot number?
Mine, 282,
282 what?
Baker's Landing.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's all right. What'd you say, Paul?
There already was one addition out here. It's pretty funny, I get people that request to join my Facebook group for HLCS, and they have to leave a lot number. And they'll leave like just a number in no section.
No section, yeah.
Or they'll leave a lot number, and I look it up in Putnam County, and it doesn't even exist.
I asked him when they come in, what's your lot number?
Thank you, Deborah.
267.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's 5 267. Which one are you?
I don't know if you're aware, you should get a copy, but Clifford Conservancy does Gettysburg 2. Sold over 75% of that lot. It became another lot
Yeah.
to Gettysburg 1. So we should be able to get some
That's on
assessment
film,
on
What? Did you go out, oh, your boat last night?
75%. No, full assessment, it's a lot.
About 9.
Must have been a heck of a fire that out
I
there.
thought I saw it
They
away.
took the lot and they broke it into two.
Hi there, how are you doing?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Long
yeah.
time no
It was
see.
last
Yeah.
minute. Carol didn't want to go out. I said, well, I'm going out. Well, where were you? On the Kazoo Bar?
Yeah.
I came by you?
No, you went.
You know what those little red bags you got?
But,
From your office?
Sorry.
but,
Got recorded.
Sometimes, you know how that is.
Put them in.
Sometimes you can go by somebody's dock and they're sitting there going like this and you just get it the other way.
32.
I've got a couple times.
312 Mill Springs.
That's why
You spelled
That's
it
why-
memorially.
Paul Felder,
I
he
couldn't
goes by
even-
your place and he just continually goes like this.
So I picked them up, I went like this, went through there, and they
You
all.
can't even look.
Over the floor. They've got a hole in his bottom.
Yeah, oh.
Everybody get one of these, I hope.
What is it?
Got one.
Hi, Lois, good.
Man, it's been hot today.
It was a hot one.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
I think 2 not motorized. 3 motorized.
Ken?
You got a second?
I wanted to do some extra flower bed in the yard, cut down some trash and stuff. Hey, John. My son couldn't come last week when the weather was decent, so today, and he might come and do the garden. He did.
Good to see you, buddy.
Good.
How about you?
Yeah.
I'm good.
And you should.
And I'll go out.
Can't complain and it wouldn't do any good
See
anyway.
what he can
Oh,
do.
I'd listen.
Well, yeah, and hopefully they don't think that they're only getting billed 25%.
Hey, John.
Because that's what you are.
Hey, Rick.
How you doing,
I
buddy?
understand what you're telling me.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
See you, bud.
Last one.
Good to see you. I ain't that proud.
You do an air
They're
elbow.
just familiar with
You do an air elbow.
everything. Gotta be the trouble.
I don't do elbows very good, but
I don't either. It sounded bad, I was watching the news before I left home and it,
Well, you know, I hear the same news, and everybody like Texas and Florida, the numbers are going up again.
Michigan.
I see no signs of it with the Indiana membership.
No, but,
Well, it's
the Florida, they closed down all the taverns.
I heard, yeah.
It was in
So I'm watching it to see if it happens in Indiana, but right now,
They said we had 319 cases.
something like that. But
Grant and AJ, there's only two not here yet.
deaths were down to 1.
Yeah.
That's good.
Looks real good, Rick, by the way.
I'm glad you like it.
Oh, yeah.
Impressive.
really good.
The cover's too dark, can you lighten up the cover?
Oh, I saw that complaint.
I'm not complaining at all, it looks great.
It's a hard ink,
man. That's a lot of ink on that
I paid extra for that.
Thank you, it looks nice.
Actually, the ink comes with my maintenance contract, so.
For this year.
This thing's hard to read.
I hate it. I hate it.
It depends on which issue you're talking about. We had, we cannot get.
Can't smile at everybody.
I ordered me one of those masks. You know, with that lady has it closed and then she does this and has that big smile. I ordered 2 of them, I haven't got them. I'd love to have had that for the first meeting.
People
They go,
had the
hi, Steve. I go,
stairs put in.
Who's
and had the
this?
thing.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
They wasn't over at the pool.
Approval of the bank.
I don't know if they're down there at the
When you
I've seen it driving around 2 different times. No, I'm not out here very much.
vote,
Is it still out there?
if you have, when you have a flood
Car's still there.
plan submitted, and then you remediate.
Did you get the license plate
with
number?
what we did.
I was actually, I was pushing, I was gonna get the VIN number because the windows are
Because you
down.
have to have, that would take 6 days.
Probably didn't have one.
We don't have 60
No.
days.
If it's still out there.
Now,
If it spells Mickey Mouse, it's not a real one.
we've already had the appraisal people out here. As soon as that's done, presumably, we're going to be able to get the loan done. And then we have to, because the bank is no longer involved in
That's a big man. Need on the wall there.
insurance issue, we
It
now
would
have to
help
go
us a lot,
directly
plus it would
to
look great.
an organization to submit it to fee.
Yeah, but which wall would you put?
The one right there, if you go through that hallway, you know where the shirts are hanging there, that wall right there. is that space
I
right there on that
met somebody
hallway.
that I met, over the
All we can say is
that
that, and I have done
he
everything
said
I
that
can.
he
At the
actually,
old marina.
The appraiser
where
has
he got a,
completed
it's like a
the
rake.
review of the
You
building.
throw out guns, it's got like a razor blade on the bottom.
He cuts it?
Yeah, he cuts it and just pulls it right back up.
Did you see it?
Bank.
Or he just told you about it?
Yeah, he told me about it because he had a great big bag of
And then we're gonna get.
weeds that he said, his mama told me to get it out of the garage. 'cause
Actually, they don't have our money, they
And
they
even if
gave
I could
us
meet him down there, I said, yeah,
$130,000
met him
help
down there, and he told me that.
for the
he goes,
first
"I
tranche.
just took it out
And
there
then the
and
second
he
tranche
said,
is
drag
gonna
it back and it just cut it and pulled
And
it.
as soon as the approval is done.
Never heard of such a thing. Have you?
No, I
Making
had
sense?
not.
It's
There, between the 2, 4 lots there in the open, and drag that whole thing.
Don't even ask the question, Tom.
We'll see how it works.
Yeah, it's an obvious question, isn't it?
I did.
I got it here, Mary.
Thank you.
We're not using COVID pens up there. He's just right.
Mary Ann, what's your address?
25 Mill Springs.
Thank you. his in, because I'll be there in 2 minutes.
That's what I was looking at too. And AJ's not here, he's probably doing lawn care somewhere.
He just said he would be here in 2 minutes.
Oh,
Who's that?
AJ?
We'll get it done then.
Let's talk, I think.
I went to Indy, grocery shop today.
Oh,
I ruined three marriages and,
Oh,
you
good.
know, it was my job today.
he's on the clock.
Did you get your HVAC back?
No. Oh, yeah, yes, I did. We are coming out again tomorrow.
2 minutes, should we right on the,
And
it's 1 minute away.
they're getting too much humidity coming out of the area.
Okay.
Okay, at 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order, the operation meeting for June 29th. If you would stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We don't have much on the agenda this evening. I want to thank everyone for coming, all of you.
all four of us.
It's not the quantity, it's the quality.
There you go.
That's what we go for.
That's why I like you, Rick.
There we go. Okay, first thing on the agenda would be the 30 acre access discussion. AJ Stafford, he'll be here in 1 minute. We'll just skip that one for right now and go to lake rules discussion, Paul Forbes.
Well, I think my name was put on there because I suggested that we should discuss it. It has been a topic that has been discussed both at the Lake Committee and certain porches and tables and bars and restaurants and phone conversations and what have you. Let me just start by, I'll say my piece. Because of the Marina project and because I'm kind of attached to the hip to Ken Roselle quite a bit in the last year and a half, I hear mostly all the discussions and complaints and the stuff that never goes away about security and this and that and boat rules and who's paying attention to them and who's not paying attention to them. And one of the things that makes sense to me, and I'm just gonna, this is my opinion, so I'm not trying to persuade anybody to go along with that, I just want you to know my opinion. My opinion is, as of now, I've been here since 2012, I've heard about these problems ever since I got here. I think if we asked Lois, she'd tell you that they have been around ever since she's been here. I think the security people that have been hired do a wonderful job. I think the entitled owners do a terrible job. I think that we should, as a board, suggest to the owners at Heritage Lake that they take a little bit of responsibility and learn the rules and stick by them. They're not that big of a deal. They don't make your life miserable. They make things safe. And when someone pulls you over, tell you that you don't know the rules or that you are not abiding by the rules, they don't want to hear who gives a shit, you know. Did I say that right? They don't want to hear that.
You stopped short.
Shush.
Shush.
Yeah, I got it.
And the point to my conversation here is that when something happens, i.e. it's idle time at the lake, and everybody's supposed to be idling. There are 3 flags, is that correct? 3 flags on the lake, 4 flags, I'm sorry. There's 4 flags on the lake. If you were to boat in front of my property, you couldn't see any one of those 4 flags. So it's an honest mistake if you don't know the exact moment when the flags go up. However, as soon as someone comes by and is not an idle, Ken might get a call, or somebody might get a call about Why isn't security on the water? Well, security is going idle. They're not going full speed, because if they went full speed to catch somebody not going idle, then somebody'd call and say, security's on the lake, not going idle. So this stuff goes back and forth and back and forth. My proposal, and you guys can laugh at it or not, I don't care. I propose that everyone that has a lot and a boat on the lake, must take the test. Once you take the test, it gets marked on your records that you took the test. Whether it's an open book or a closed book test, you can take it over the winter time online if you want to get it over with. At least it tells us you read the rules. I'll give you a good example of this. There is a new person on the lake. He's got a pontoon, he's got a jet ski, and he's got a regular boat. He's not been on the lake for very long. He spent a lot of money to be on this lake. And I watched the person break probably 6, 7 rules in one day. He didn't break them. He just didn't read the rules. He told Lois he read the rules by signing that sheet. He didn't read them. I mean, he couldn't possibly have read them. Because you don't pull a tube about half a mile at idle without a flag up, followed by a jet ski. I mean, there's 3 rules right there. So my point is, if we all have to take the test one time, at least we read the rule book. At least, has anybody here ever taken the test? No, I have.
Boat test?
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so there's boat owners here that have never taken the test. Well, I've read through the test because my son-in-law took the test 2 weeks ago. And I got some of those wrong, but at least I read them and I know them now. So if you read it, at least it's going to stick in most people's minds, especially the most important ones. And I think we're throwing the onus on security, whereas we ought to throw the onus on ourselves. This is a 350-acre minus acre lake out there. On the weekends, it gets dangerous. If everybody followed the rules, it wouldn't be dangerous. But not only that, the security department and Ken get flooded with calls when there's a change in operations. And it's just ridiculous. It's like we're holding him responsible, one guy, for all the people that are on this lake. And I think it's time to stop. I think it's time that everybody takes a test. And then every person that comes to the lake and buys a new home, they have to take the test before they get their stickers. That's my suggestion.
Discussion?
On the heels of what Paul says, I think what Paul says is right. I also think it's a responsibility of every homeowner that's on the lake to somewhat understand it's our responsibility to help Ken in security to keep the lake safe. And Ken knows this, that early in the year, people would come into the cove, didn't have a sticker on. And I'm just the sort of kind of guy that's gonna ask you why. And just recently, in the last 3 weeks, I've had 2 guys out on the water at night. So, I mean, it's not pitch black yet, but baby, it's frickin' dark. And they're coming into my cove and they're fishing. And I'm like, the guy was like, are you a nosy neighbor or what? No, I'm not a nosy neighbor, but I want to know where your lights are. Well, you know, I fish a lot, and the lights are kind of a pain in the ass. We get tangled up on it. So you're really not a fisherman, is what you're telling me. Because when he said that, now he's engaged me, and I was like, he says, I know the rules. Well, apparently you don't know the rules, and you don't have any freaking lights on. And then the conversation turned nice. He was like, I love your house, and we started talking. I said, but so when he went to leave the cove, I said, do me a favor, turn your freaking light on, and he did. Just last week, there's a guy fishing in the cove again, no lights on. It's like 9:45, so it's freaking dark. And my neighbor I see him out with his pontoon, and he's getting ready to come in.
Oh.
And his wife was telling me, I saw you standing out by the fence. And I said, I don't stand out by the fence looking for boaters, but I happen to be out there. And if I see somebody that's doing something, I'm nice about it. But if I see somebody that's doing something, driving with the frickin' docking lights on, I don't care what it is, then you tell them nicely, you got your docking lights on, you blind other people, or in these two particular cases, fishing with no lights on at all. No red light, no green light, no tail light. And my neighbor, in his pontoon boat, almost hit the guy, because he didn't see him. So I think that what Paul says, taking a test, knowing that you know the rules, but when you see somebody that's doing stuff that's unsafe, I think it's important to help. You know, you can't have security being everywhere at all times. It's impossible. And I thought the same thing you thought, Paul, is, you know, we had, I don't think a lot of people knew how much rain we got over the other evening. What I got was 3.25 inches. Nowhere in the city got that high. And so we had high water coming down. And you know, I have one of those docks that's underwater when we get high water. And, you know, I kind of figured that probably the yellow flags are up. I saw people as soon as the weather broke on, what was it, Saturday? They're going out, going tubing. You know, it's just like, come on, use your freaking brain, you knucklehead. You know how much rain we got. You know, maybe if you're gonna take the boat out, do it at idle speed first and find out what the lake is rated at before you take it out and you hook a tube up to it. Or, you know, you get someone, you know, wave runners out there and stuff like that. It's just, to me, a lot of it's what you said, Paul, it's common sense. You know,
Well, I think you bring up another point, too. What I was talking about is at least making sure that everybody on the lake at least read the book. Secondly, we need to talk about, as a board and a community, is what are we going to do? People break the rules when they know the rules. What are we going to do? We can't fine them. We've heard that from our attorney, but we can take them off the lake. And, you know, talking to law enforcement people and other people that have to make rules and make people abide by those rules, the punishment usually corrects things faster than anything else. And if you're risking not fishing on our lake anymore because you won't put your lights on, I'll bet you put your lights on. If you're risking getting thrown off the lake for a week or a month because you're speeding after dark, I'll bet you don't speed after dark. And, you know, I think, and in talking to Ken, from a man who gets all these complaints, both from people and from security and from everybody else out here, you know, I'm sure he's in favor of the hardest punishments. The first guy that gets thrown off, the first person that gets thrown off the lake for a month, that's good, that word's going to spread. And then people will pay attention to the rules. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, it'll get around on Facebook too, so that's how it's gonna get around, so.
How do you see us doing that? Would you want to put that as on the agenda for the monthly meeting and take a vote? But do you see us waiting until next year before they get their stickers to take the test then, or how do you see that working?
Well, I would say at this point, I would suggest at this point that we go ahead with the tests. Take a vote on the tests for all the people that own boats on the lake. And that's not that hard to do, and I think it gives people the whole winter time to take that test. They don't have to worry about it in the spring or the summer when they put their boat in. They can take the test this winter. As long as it, you know, we figure out a way so that they can take the test. Can they do it online?
Probably, we could probably make something so that it happens online. Can't be that hard to do.
We've got over 1,000 boats out here. registered. So I think if we're gonna move ahead with just the testing, and then maybe we talk in the spring about what kind of punishments we're for, and when we have time to think about that, talk to other people in the community, that's fine with me. But I think as far as the testing goes, let's give the whole winter time to take the test. I'll be the first one to take it, so I don't have to do it next spring.
Well,
That would be my suggestion.
that brings up another question. You're gonna give the test to the owner of the boat or the authorized drivers of the boat?
The owner of the lot, the owner of the boat.
Well, to that point, when I took off Saturday to get everybody to slow down, the first one I stopped was a jet ski with 2 individuals on it, just getting it across the lake. I stopped them. And I said, "Did you see that yellow flag and that yellow flag?" And his response was, he goes, "Yeah, but we didn't know what they were." The next thing that crossed my mind was, those 2 wasn't the property owners, I'll assure you that. So if we make the homeowner take the test, then what about that kid that was just driving that boat? That was, he looked like he was, I don't know, 20, 22, something like that.
What about the 13-year-olds that are out there on the waveline?
So those aren't the ones, you know, what I see is, and this is in my opinion, it's a great topic that we probably should have had a long time ago. Somewhere along the line, everybody out there thinks that security is the answer to all the problems, and it's not. They're just out there to monitor situations and address situations when they see it. There is no way in hell that you can be in a security boat on the south end, making a lap around, and 3 other boats doing something stupid on the north end and see them. But everybody thinks that just because they see them, where's security at? Before you take the time to blast security for every one of the complaints or the violations that you see, why don't you take that moment and find out who's doing that and blast them? Put them on Facebook. Put that JV 212 or whatever it is on their boat, what they were doing out there. Blast them. Make them start feeling guilty. It's not the security's. I'm telling you, I have done this, I have been out there on that water as security before I even took this position. And it's just getting tougher and tougher and tougher every year. Like I told somebody over the weekend, you've got 1 boat out there with 1 security officer, and you've got over 1,050 boats that's registered. That could, at any given time, there could be 500 boats. I would challenge anybody here at this lake to see everything that goes on. But they think that security is the answer to all. Now, like I said today, there's officers that live here. There's officers that see the Facebook post, see security that gets slammed. We are on a thread for every one of them just to say, the heck with it. I don't want to deal with it. They can go to Cataract Lake and work on the Sheriff's Department security boat out on Cataract Lake, not make 1 stop, hand out frozen popsicles to kids, and make $35 an hour. Why would they come out here and get their butt beat on Facebook? I wouldn't do it. So, if people don't stop and start addressing the problems with the people that are causing the problems and quit pointing the finger at security, we're going to have nobody that is going to want to work out here on the water, or we go back to 16 and 17-year-old kids like we've had in the past, that we might as well just throw our money down the drain, because ain't nobody going to listen to them. And you know, it's been made, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but it's been made about volunteers. I said over the weekend, volunteers will work about 1 month. But the first time a volunteer pulls up and addresses you and you and you about a certain violation, that's 2 out of those 3 is gonna tell you where to go, and off they go. So after about a month, they're gonna say, time out, I'm not doing this crap. That's exactly what's gonna happen. So at some point in time, we need to stop pointing the finger at the ones that are out there doing their best to try to have a part-time job that is not a full-time job. It is not something that we have somebody on the lake from 8 AM to 2 o'clock in the morning, or I think if you'd ask some people, they want security out there all night long. I mean, you want to talk about spending a fortune? I think we need to stop and look at the people that are causing the problems. You want to blast somebody, blast them on Facebook, don't blast the security guys.
I guess, you know, what is the answer to enforcement? I mean, enforcement is the big stick, if you would.
I think,
Do we keep a log?
Can we invite DNR out here?
I have, and their exact words was, they got one DNR officer out in this area that he oversees Cataract, occasionally Glen Flint, and he goes out on Raccoon.
Wow.
His exact words was, we don't have time to be on your water. We don't have the manpower.
Tom, go ahead with your thought.
I guess enforcement, as I said, and I think one thing, you know, we heard about, and I've heard for several years, that there was some legality regarding us with fines. I know for a fact that Hidden Valley Lake in Indiana does levy fines against boaters. I'm just wondering why they can do it and why we can't do it.
We came back and asked that question, and Tanner's response was, I'm telling you, they're playing with fire. Do not fine.
How's a fine different than throwing someone off the lake? And how are you gonna enforce it if they say, Ken, you can't throw me off the lake?
That's when you, from a
Physical?
law enforcement standpoint, you can trespass them from the lake. Now they're risking going to jail if they're caught back on them.
So we've got legal
But
strength
that's
to
not a
do that.
POA thing, that's a Putnam County Sheriff thing, or a.
That's where,
Doesn't
have
that's
to be
where
a
law
Putnam County
enforcement,
sheriff that
that's where
throws
law
them off?
enforcement would have some teeth.
But is that where, does that go through each individual department? Is like, if a Bainbridge police officer's out here, is his rule jurisdiction different than?
He's got the authority to trespass people from the lake.
No matter where he's from? Okay.
I almost feel like we need to have a computer inside each one of our boats.
Put a laptop in there?
Well, you know, those are the kind of things that go through my head. Even some kind of a handheld thing that we could look up and see.
How many infractions?
Yeah.
Do we keep a log of those infractions? Do we have a log that we could look at and identify, okay, how many people have performed a tier 1 violation and a tier 2 violation and a tier 3 violation? Do we have that log available?
Yes and no. You know, you encounter so many people. I asked, you know, I've got a simple form that I ask them to fill out, and then the very last question on that form is, are they cooperative or not? Most of the time, if they say yes, they're cooperative, I let it go. But if they're not, then we log it and, you know, address it that way. Is it perfect? No, it's not, because it's, you know, sometimes it's hard to write when the water is choppy and, you know, you can't even already stand up. So sometimes you think, well, I'll get to it when I get over in an item, and then they forget about it, you know, and so it's not a perfect situation.
But we do have that tracking system.
Yeah.
So then, just a question to follow up on somebody's conversation regarding the idle speed. The idle speed was in effect, I believe, for a 24-hour period.
Almost.
How many incidents were recorded in that 24-hour period?
Well, I was the only one out, and I stopped 2 boats. I just flipped
Two
my
boats
lights.
in the.
I flipped my lights on, and everybody started slowing down. So,
one other interesting thing about that idle thing, since it was just fresh in our minds right now. Ken sent out an email telling people that flags are coming down at 1 o'clock. Now, if you're out in a boat idling around a lake, you might not got that email. And you might be in some place where you can't see a flag. But the interesting thing was, and this gets back to John's conversation about we need to take ownership as people that live here and inform people when they're not abiding by the rules. There was a boat coming from the north end 1 minute after 1. 1 minute after 1. I was sitting there with my phone.
Green line.
And he was pulling the tuber. And the people across the cove from me screamed at him. Screamed at him. Idle only! He stopped the boat, said, flags are down. And then the person at that dock said, let's go skiing. So, I mean, that's a prime example of, you know, what happens out here. Everybody tattles, everybody, but it has to, somewhere along the line we have to go further with it. I would suggest at this point, Rick, I think we need more discussion about this. I think the Lake Committee needs more discussion about it. And we need to find out from the Lake Committee what they think. It's July 1, for all practical purposes, it's July 1. Let's just say we shoot for getting a decision on at least the testing by September board meeting. And let's have discussion between now and then. Not only in these meetings, but amongst yourselves, at the marina, talk to people, see how they feel, and we'll go from there. I think there's a whole, this is a big item. So let's
It's dangerous.
That's where I was getting ready to go, Jim. We're very fortunate we haven't had that accident yet. I want to do everything we can possibly do that we don't have that accident. And I think everybody in this room, everybody on YouTube agrees with that, I hope. I think that further discussion will work. And I like the idea of taking the test over the winter. Gives everybody a chance to get that done. Let's just go with table it right now and we'll have further discussions. Lake Committee liaison, can you take this to them, please? You were last year, right?
Probably.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't.
He's on the Lake Committee.
I'm on the Lake Committee.
That's what it is. You're always there. That's why I assume that. Steve, could you carry that back to the Lake Committee and let them know what Paul's and our idea of a board is on this test? And Grant, I would want to take you up on helping with getting it online.
Sure.
If we get that far.
Okay.
So can you do that, Steve, please?
Yep.
Yeah, one thing I think the Lake Committee would ask for, is it possible at every Lake Committee meeting to at least get a copy of the last month's worth of violations that have been recorded?
Sure.
Tom, I think we're gonna find that is really something that's more informal than formal. And we ought to be going forward rather than going backward.
I don't think it's going backwards. I think, you know, as I say, I think it's part of enforcement, and the only way you could have effective enforcement is if you know who the violators are, if you have a record of the violators. I mean, the Lake Committee wrote up.
I don't know if we should be announcing to the Lake Committee who the violators are, right? I mean, is that public record?
It is not today.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Somebody
I
wants to
just-
put it on.
wall
Yeah,
of
no, I'm just
shame.
saying right now, it isn't, Tom.
Well, Tom, you were out there, you went out with some security guys and you were out there for a couple hours. Could you see yourself writing down, making notes while you're trying to drive a boat and you got 300 boats spinning around you and with waves, and it's, like I said, it's not a perfect situation to sit and write that information up.
No, I agree with you 100%. I'm just thinking about in their deputy's normal duty, if they're in a high-speed chase, okay, they're not having time to record records but at some point in the shift, there is time set aside to do that, I would assume.
Yeah, but you got dispatch to call up and print off report, communication report that everything is said, to remind you of what's going on. We would probably there's some guys that'll work for 12 hours. They could probably stop 25, 30 boats. That's more than what you stop on a regular 12-hour shift on working for the sheriff's department. So, I mean, it's just, we can get you that information, but I'm just telling you, it's not a perfect situation
If
to
the
set and
lake-
write all that stuff down.
If the Lake Committee comes up with the idea that this is not an issue, then I think we should go substantiating with that type of information. That type of information is not available at this point. It's informal information with what we have. And it seems like the only reason we would need formal information like that is to substantiate to the Lake Committee or substantiate to the board that there's a problem on the lake. Is there anybody that doesn't think there's a problem?
No, I think you're gonna substantiate to the people that, okay, they've had 3 occurrences of an issue, of different issues. So therefore, you have some justification, written justification, documented justification where you could throw them off.
And when does that time frame? 3 times in a whole season?
I don't remember,
Really?
I don't have
It's
that,
written down.
I don't have that rule memorized, but it is,
I don't know that.
Is that written up in the rules?
yes.
What, depends on the route, on what they broke.
I can't off the top of my head think that it says a certain time frame, but it may.
We have people coming in to the marina every day that are breaking rules. Nobody knows what idle speed means.
Nobody does.
That's what I was gonna say, what?
Idle speed.
Tell me what the RPMs is.
Nobody on
I mean,
any lake knows
First
that.
click.
And they come in pulling kids behind them on tubes, which is not supposed to be done.
Do you record their boat number?
We warn them, we holler at them and tell them that, we haven't got, when we see something, we holler, we tell them, hey, get the kids off the tube. And that's about as much as we can do, because we're busy.
Human nature tells you just to holler at them and tell them to stop.
Yeah.
Instead of pulling out all your gear and writing all this stuff down and.
Slow it down.
You know, most of the time when you encounter them, they're so dang ticked off that, it's just. I invite anybody to come out and do a good 6 to 10 hour shift out there, and everybody, there's just only a very few that understand, if you really do it and do it right, understand what is going on. It is just, it's out of control. You want to document all of the phone calls, the phone calls that I get, the messages I get, that people's going way too fast after dark, or they're going too fast in their cove. I get just as many complaints over the phone or over my Facebook or whatever that I do on the water. And documenting it all down, I don't think is the answer.
Where you don't have.
What you're doing by doing that, I think you're doing just what everybody else does. You're putting the finger right back on the officer to do something. We got to get away from that, because unless you want to spend a fortune to put 5 officers out there and go out and buy 4 more boats and do it right, and stick them on one on the East Fork, one on the south, one on the north, one in the middle, and one at the marina. That's what it would take to get, if you want to point the finger at security, that's what it's going to take to do it and do it right. We'll need 4 more boats and a whole heck of a lot more people.
I really wasn't trying to point the finger at anybody. All I'm trying to say is the most effective way to do it is with enforcement. And one method of enforcement is to identify the offenders. And the only way to identify the offenders, unless everybody's got a good memory, which I don't have, is to somehow record the offenders and the offenses. I'm not pointing a finger at the officers. I'm just trying to come up with a method that we could make enforcement has more teeth involved in it.
Enforcement is out of control right now. You need to fix the big picture and then try to enforce the little things.
Hey Ken, how about this? Every officer's got a phone, right?
Mhm.
Do we have the ability to set up an email address? Like an email account, a POA email account?
Voicemail?
No, but email, because you can't send a picture or through a voicemail. Officer pulls said boat over, boat 1234JV, because I don't want to point any fingers at anybody.
You can use
Why don't
mine.
we just put it on Facebook?
212 JV, 54. So 54 JV, black jet boat gets pulled over for doing what he does normally every weekend. And officer pulls up to the boat, boom, boom, doo. This goes to Tom's point. Officer snaps a picture of the boat with the stickers on it, their lot stickers on it. And, I mean, everybody here in this whole universe has sent a picture on a phone. They can do it from their personal, their duty phone, or whatever you guys have. Send it to that email address. It doesn't even, they can put a text in with it or something. They can say speeding, idle zone, whatever. If we want to come up with a couple, maybe hit list distinctions of it, like after dark, idle zone, unsafe behavior like pulling a tube in a cove or whatever, pulling a tube up to the marina. Come up with our top 5 or 6 things that are the big pain in the ass, and every officer texts that to that email address, and then that begins the documentation process. It takes them 2 seconds. They can do it while they're bouncing, because you darn know well, all of them have their phone on that boat. Every officer's got a phone.
But to that point, you're still only capturing a very small portion of the.
But you know what? It's a start. We can
Then
come up
I
with,
think
if
the
we're gonna
start-
come up with 1,000 excuses why we can't do something, we might as well pull security off the lake completely and save our money. If
I
we're not
really
gonna
thought
even
about
attempt-
that.
If we're not gonna attempt to do anything, if every idea that we put out is gonna be shot down, we might as well just pull the security boat, sell it, save our money, and just wait till something terrible
I would be
happens.
fine with that.
And wait till something terrible happens? And
No,
just
I
do
would be
nothing?
fine with that. I mean, just, we'll address it when it happens, but I'm just telling you that the problems are so large, you're not, yes, you're starting somewhere, but you're still not, you're not fixing the problem. The problem is the people that are, the amount of people that are, the start is to start some kind of a test. And I'm not so sure that in my opinion, I'm not so sure that an open book is the answer. If you really want to make people learn the rules, they either take it, they either pass or they fail it. And they're gonna pass it to get
But if
the,
they have to do it in the moment, standing there with all their kids, their boat, the cooler's full, they're gonna start accosting the marina staff. Well, I pay $500,000 for a house, and I do all this, I don't understand why I don't have to, whatever.
Or I've drove boats all of my life.
I
I don't
and I don't want, I don't want
And
poor
if you
Lois.
think-
and those are the ones that are
Somebody
breaking.
doesn't know that there's a problem on their lake. You ought to come to the marina one weekend and answer the phone.
Oh, I know, I bet
The
it's
phone blew up
terrible.
the other evening when you put that flag up. We were trying to fold the American flag because it was soggy wet. We were trying to do that. There was only 2 people there. We were trying to get things done, and it was the evening. And we were at the last minute trying to do everything. The phone blew up, everybody. Mary Petrucci, 15 other people. Oh God, there's somebody out here tubing, they're going full speed. I hated to text Ken, but I had no problem, no other way to do it. Because we don't have the right to do anything with the flag. Ken is the one that takes care of it. So he came and put it up, and then that phone started. They were complaining about all the stuff going on. And I said, hang on. I said, Stacy, is there a security car over there? He said, no, there's nobody over there. So I told Mary Petrucci, there's nobody on duty. And then I said, why don't you call the tip line and Ken will get a message on his phone. She didn't want to do that. I said, well, has Dennis got a board? He could put a sign up, say idle only. No, he's not got that. I said, okay, I'll take care of it. So in the middle of trying to close the marina down, trying to run people away from the gas pump, one guy, did you see the blue and white ski boat that took off across the lake line. He got mad because we would not open up and pump him gas. So that's what he did. So you go through this all the time. Deborah's been giving people tests. Rita Sensman thinks it's the most wonderful thing in the world. She took a test. But other people don't want to take a test. So I don't know what we do.
It's
I
entitlement.
I suggested a couple years ago to the board and lake committee to do a 5-minute video for incoming new people. Just
On the safety stuff, yeah.
read the safety stuff to the people.
I like that.
like
I
it too.
suggested too, that new people coming in, take the test. Let's have an orientation. We can charge for this orientation too. And we don't have that. We don't, and me and April stand at that desk, and I mean, for 5 minutes, we talked as fast as we can to try and cram everything we can into them. And it's, yep, okay, and they walk out and they didn't hear a thing, because they're talking the whole time we're talking. And it's true. I've made suggestions, we've tried, we give them all the books. I think it's time to put a Facebook vote out there. Hey, you're on Facebook, what are you doing wrong? Oh, that's so-and-so, I know who that is. You guys want to talk on Facebook and hide behind your screen? Let's start seeing you on screen.
I'm in.
I don't Facebook, so
Okay.
I don't have to worry about it.
With
but-
that, us table it for now. We've decided to talk about it and bring it up September is what you said, Paul?
Yeah, and I think that the discussion needs to carry on. in
Between now and
Each meeting we have, whether they're ops meetings or, and we don't have to talk about the same things over and over again, but if you have new opinions, you have new insight, you have new ideas, let's talk about them in each meeting we go between now and September.
I think it's a great topic because it needs.
Obviously.
It needs a.
I thought it was gonna be 5 minutes.
Obviously, there's more issues than we each one know about.
Mhm.
Can we just ask the public tonight? We do have an email address that people can use. It's called HLPOA@CCRTC.
CCRTC.
If they have suggestions on what we can do, if the community has suggestions on what we can do regarding
They can comment on the
security.
YouTube video. Can't they, Grant? Can they comment on this meeting?
Yeah, Facebook and stuff. Someone just suggested maybe doing a text blast for major issue, text messaging blast like we did the emails. That would
Okay,
be-
so we can
I thought I
solicit
got
people.
Must
Okay.
have been an email.
We'll move to the next topic then, which is the 30-acre access. AJ.
Okay, so last year we championed getting the slide gate put in over on the 30 acres to kind of close it off and to make it only leaves, and we ground up all the stumps and the trash and we got it all back to zero after all the IDEM problems we had. And we kind of tabled talking about A, spending more money, and B, doing any more about accessing that area. We had talked about some cameras, we had talked about some card readers, we had talked about giving out codes for the keypad, which Ken's staff was over there, we had some volunteers over there. I just want to start talking about that subject as fall will be here before we know it, and people will want their leaves cleaned up, people will want to be able to drop off some of that, leaf yard debris type stuff. And what we're gonna do about that, so either, were we gonna do the same program again, that Ken's got his staff guys on a rotating basis where they're there? Are we gonna get people to sign paperwork that they're not gonna dump sticks or whatever? Are we gonna get cameras out there? I guess it was more of just a generalized question of, there's a lot of stuff that either falls into the lake if nobody takes care of it, which causes us more money in siltation every year. And, it's filling up the lake with junk. Or we find a way to get it out of people's yards into somewhere safe away from the lake. And how are we gonna do that? And what the protocols are gonna be, just so we're not like all of a sudden it's September 15th and everybody's starting to ask about, oh, we need to start thinking about this. Kind of like Lake Rural situation, we need to have this kind of ready to go in the next.
I think how we did it, and I mean, if there's a better way, I'd be open for it, but I think how we did it last year and accommodated people, I think it went pretty well. We had somebody, I can't remember what the hours were, but we had somebody down there throughout the weekend, and everybody knew that's when to take their leaves, and if they needed it through the week, they called the office, and I graciously met them. I met some gentleman called me over the weekend and had cut some weeds around his dock, and I met him over there, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday. Met him, and he dumped a bag of, it seemed to work fine, but that's just for leaves. Unless you have another plan, that's not gonna cost a whole lot of money, I guess.
Did your people, are they agreeable to do the same kind of schedule they did last year?
I think they'd be fine. Basically what we did was, we always have somebody work on weekends, kind of do the sandman on the beaches and the trash. So we just kind of carried that schedule right through the fall. And instead of, like right now, one person does the weekend gig, but we just kind of rotated it around. It seemed to work fine. I've really never heard any complaints. There was a few people that had multiple loads through the week, and I just simply told me, give me an hour's notice, and I met the guy down there and let him in. To my knowledge, we haven't had any complaints, and that was what we did last year. So, but if there's a
To go along with that,
This year.
if that's fine. I've also just talked to a handful of homeowners that don't have the means, because they have a car or they don't have a truck, they don't have a way to transport their leaves. Is there any sort of, I know we kind of talked about it last year a little bit about if you wanted to help your neighbor haul leaves or whatever, that you needed to have some sort of documentation that you're taking leaves for your neighbor or taking leaves for from other people on the lake, because the people that live around that area will see the same truck going in and out multiple times, and they may think you're bringing leaves from Danville, or because you have a place to dump it, or other people may take advantage of that. So are we doing for that? You're looking at me like I'm a crazy person, like I'm just.
No, I'm
making this
looking
up.
at you because you're probably asking for yourself, for
Well,
people,
yeah.
for people,
And that's a fair question.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that he's cleaning up yards in the
Yeah.
area. And if he is cleaning up yards in the area, they have just as much right to pay him and throw in the 30 acres as I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and again, I think it gets, we don't have to have a log sheet, but certainly if we can trust a person, I always thought that the cleanup committee would be a perfect committee. If there's people in the community that only have a car and they have a lot of leaves, let's put together some volunteers. I'd be volunteering to go over their house and help the cleanup committee. That's a perfect committee to handle that. And they can say, hey, Mrs. Smith at such and such a lot needs somebody to pick up her leaves. She's got them all raked up in a pile, and bring them over there. We could always coordinate that. But as far as what you're talking about, I think, I don't think that AJ is going to get past anybody coming from Danville with a load of leaves, because they got his number.
I think you have to have a little bit of trust.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm only looking at it from this perspective as there is a sign on the thing that says no contractors. But we allow,
POA card. Have them show the card.
I'm fine with that.
I think the intent.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to put myself in a higher category as far as
So what you
that
can do,
that I am above board, and that I'm not doing anything, because like I said, I only take care of heritage like people.
well, I'm sorry, I'm coming with the name. McCullough has the same problems. He takes pictures, he takes videos, he does all the things so that if somebody doesn't trust him, he brings proof. Take a picture of the lady's POA card. This is her leaves. Put it on your phone. There you go.
I'm okay to do that, I just.
Email it to Heritage Lake POA.
Like I said, I'm just trying to head off I'm trying to head off the Facebook messages off the past because I've got stickered up trucks
I
and
think,
trailers that I'm gonna be bringing stuff there, and I've got a leaf vacuum now, so I'm probably gonna do a lot of leaves.
I
But there
think
won't be
the,
any sticks,
I
there won't
think
be
the
any
intent of
branches.
that, no contractors, I think the intent of that, or the spirit of that was for contractors to come out of Danville and dump.
I understand the
I think
spirit,
that-
but haven't we learned at that area of the lake that people take it literally? Like, haven't we learned our lesson with the IDEM stuff and everything else, the people making phone calls and whatnot? That the letter of the law, I just want it to be very, very
If it's
clear.
leaves, it's biodegradable.
I'm just
you know.
saying, I wanna be very, very clear of, and if I have to haul them all the way to Danville to Green Cycle, that's what I'll do. I mean, if that's where it's gonna go. Or,
AJ, you're already winning. Let's go on to the next topic.
As long as the leaves are coming from Heritage Lake, I don't have a problem.
okay, I just, like I said,
No,
I
I'm
just,
If they're from Heritage Lake,
If,
okay.
I will tell you that if anybody questions, and I trust that they're coming from a Heritage Lake resident, I have no problem with telling them those leaves came from a Heritage Lake resident.
All of whom have a right to put their stuff.
And if you're a Heritage Lake property owner and you hire somebody to take leaves, just have them take a picture of your POA card.
If they want to ride with you in the truck over there,
There you
let
go.
them do it, you know?
All right.
Okay.
I'll ride with you.
Any other discussion on that before we change subjects? With that, I have,
So basically, how we've left it is,
Yes.
currently, we're gonna continue the same program we did last year.
Yep.
that's correct. And if there's a problem, we'll address it then. If there's, because it seemed to work well last year.
Yep.
And during the week, excuse me, I'm gonna just butt in there, Rick, during the week, we get calls and we ask the people to make an appointment. Let us know the day before you wanna come, we'll have someone there, and we write their name, their lot number, their phone number, and give it to the appropriate person to have someone there, and that's Ken. We give all that to Ken, and he delegates who is gonna go open the gate, and they're fine with that.
Let's just go with
Just give
what
us 24
everybody's
hours.
fine with, and if there's an issue, we'll address it then. I don't see a problem. Because I think it worked out well last year.
We still had a big pile of leaves.
And keep up the good work.
You still got a big pile of leaves?
We still had a big pile of leaves.
Okay, I have a couple other things I wanted to bring up. I think everybody's aware we have not had a feast and ski recently. We're gonna have one this year, hopefully. I've talked to Mary Petruzzi, who's in charge. She has put out a request for volunteers to work the feast and ski. She does not have that filled up yet. I understand now why we haven't had feast and ski, because we haven't had enough volunteers. That's what I was told, why we didn't have the past two. Talking to her, she still needs people to work the day of feast and ski. So there's a website or something they sign up on now.
There is, she's got that out.
She
there.
has a website, and we need volunteers. So if everybody can get that word out, we don't want to lose Feast and Ski after this year because we don't have volunteers. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Did she put
She's got a
something in the
layout in the
highlights?
highlights, she does.
It is in the highlights,
It is in the
but,
highlights.
but I just want to I spoke with her yesterday and brought it to my attention that we need more volunteers to work the day of the event. Maybe an hour here or 2 hours here, volunteer time. She has slots on her website that you can sign up for. We need to get that full. I hate to see us not have it again next year. That's the only point I want to make. And help Mary get the successful feast and ski this year. Has everyone in this room seen that there's a singer going to be by the beach on July the 3rd, 7 to 9? Clayton Anderson from Bedford, Indiana. Has everybody seen that? Get the word out to the people. You can come down in their boat, sit out in the boat, they can bring the chairs, sit in front of where he sings there at the shelter house. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
It's all over Facebook.
Yeah, it's in the highlights. too.
I think it's been put everywhere. I just want to make sure all of us know, tell your friends about it. July the 3rd's Friday night, so that'll be here before we know it. I want to thank Ken and security. Ken responded to the, we've talked about it, the rainfall that we had, went to idle speed just right away. I want to compliment you on the job well done on that. And monitoring the people that was ignoring the flags. I don't know how I saw something on Facebook. I'm not a real Facebook guy, but I happened to read one, and I guess the complaint he had towards the board, he said, communications, we didn't communicate to them. We communicated with a flag, we communicated with an email. I don't believe that, because we did the same thing with the email to take the flag down, and everybody saw that the flags were coming down. But nobody paid attention to the flags when they went up. So I think whoever put that on Facebook was definitely wrong, and I don't think it's right. Said we didn't communicate that it went idle. I think you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
And I want to tell you that in front of everyone.
And I apologize for texting you twice this weekend. I didn't, I wish I didn't have.
Lois, you were only a small portion of it.
Lois, if you're apologizing for 2, I owe him about 10 apologies. We've texted all weekend, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to take a minute and thank you. I know you're committed to this job, and I just want to tell you we appreciate it. That's all.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh. I've got one other item. I just want to dispel a rumor that I heard on Saturday, and I'll just go over it briefly because it's not true. I was told that this board was going to enforce eminent domain and buy some homes by the marina and put a CVS in. Now, you guys are laughing. There's been meetings for this. We as a board cannot enforce eminent domain. I talked with our attorney today. He assured me that that's the case. It's only a governmental agency that can do that. We as this board cannot do that. It's illegal. If you don't believe me, call your lawyer, check it out. But these rumors are hurtful. Well, we've got people living in houses by the marina that believe this is true, that they're going to move. That's a true statement. I know one person out of the 5 that it's wrong. It's wrong to put these rumors out, and it just needs to stop. Anybody have a question about it, call me. I'll discuss it with anybody. I thought it was a joke when I first started hearing it, and it turned out not to be a joke.
That's sad.
That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to dignify it with any more discussion on it. But if you want to discuss it with me personally, call me. With that, anybody else have anything else on the operation?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hey, thanks for coming, all of you. It's really appreciated.
All of you.
All of you, and thanks for listening, everyone. And sorry about the other. I get emotional. Sorry.
I do too, Rick, and I'm sorry.